Thank you, everybody, for attending this session. This is the best venue I've ever had an opportunity to present anything in, so I'm going to enjoy that. And for the folks who may be looking at it on the stream afterwards, we're in an IMAX theater, so if I try to make a few movie jokes, that's why. So this session, again, thank you very much for joining us. The conversation for today is around Internet of Things and how to find ROI, return on investment. Hopefully the folks in this room have experienced some of IoT, but it's around the Internet of Things, connecting things to the internet. And within IoT, there is a couple of different angles. One is technical, right? We hear a lot about IoT technologies, MQTT and TLS, and lots of three-letter acronyms, and that is important. But there's a whole other side of it, which is IoT is not just a technology, but it's a whole new business venture. I don't know about the folks in the room, but like I haven't met my first chief IoT officer. So IoT is still very new, and many enterprises are trying to figure out how it fits into their organization. As part of that, one key aspect of it is ROI. Like where is the money in this stuff? And a lot of the companies that we work with and that we see are trying to figure that out. So quick introductions and we'll dive right in. So I'm Adam Michelson, and I'm a product manager inside of Google IoT Core, which is Google's IoT offering. So my job is to build some of that tech to make sure IoT products are safe and secure, reliable, low latency, but also hopefully build a product that folks in the enterprise can drive real value from. And frankly, that's as much, if not more challenging than building a technical product with low latency and high security. So before we dive right in, I want to do the other introductions of the guests who are joining us, which I'm super excited about. So when I learned about this session and that Phil and Doug would be joining us, it was kind of an honor because it's so exciting to see when IoT is being used in the field and have customers and actual users come forward and offer us their advice around what's working with IoT from a money perspective and what's not. And that's what Phil and Doug are here to talk about. I'll give it the mic over to them in a second to introduce, but as a quick introduction, so Doug Stanley, he's a partner of Google, and he has a company called Neolabs that specializes in building IoT solutions and has an IoT product to help customers. And then Phil Asmundson, he owns a winery, very cool, and he's in the agriculture business. So it's Phil's job to figure out is IoT worth it, and is there ROI in it? So to have these folks here today to share their experience is an honor for myself to present with. So Doug, Phil, can you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Doug Stanley.
Are we live?
Hi, I'm Doug Stanley. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Neolabs. It's really a pleasure to be here on behalf of our team. We're very, very excited to actually share with you a real IoT implementation that is getting real results. We were recently with Google at IoT World in their booth, and the overwhelming reaction we got was, is this really real? And so I think that was my takeaway around the state of the market. And so we're excited today to not only share the tech, but the results of something very real. Phil?
Hi, I'm Phil Asmundson, and along with my wife, Kim, we're the owners of Deep Sky Vineyard, and Adam said that you wanted to tell you a little bit about how IoT and ROI might come from that in the field. In this case, it literally is in a field. I am not a long-time wine guy except for enjoying it. But until 4 years ago, I was a vice chairman and led our technology, media, and telecom practice at Deloitte. So I come from a tech background, so it was very easy for me to get into this, and I'm excited to share what we've learned at Deep Sky Vineyard.
Awesome, thank you. So as we dive in, so a quick survey. So when it comes to IoT and in the audience here, just a quick raise of hands in terms of how many folks are experimenting with IoT in their organization, which is like somebody somewhere has a Raspberry Pi doing something, or an Arduino, or an Android Things connecting. Great. It looks like the vast majority. We see that as well, and there's sort of ages of IoT. We're still very much at the dawn of IoT, so I think we're all together in this journey to figure out how IoT functions. But we do see a lot of folks who want to experience with IoT have connected something. So it's sort of like the connectivity age maybe we're in the middle of, or maybe at the end of, in terms of, can I just get a device connected? So the next question is around how many folks in the audience have full-blown IoT products supported in the field with customers using it, your call center can answer questions, your documentation warranty is out there. How many of the folks have that? Less, which is what we expect. So that's a lot of the things that we want to talk about today is sort of that gap. IoT is new, right? So we don't expect a lot of IoT products that are fully out there in the field. But there is a pretty dramatic gap that's sitting in between the amount of projects being piloted and the amount of projects in the field. So there's a term that's being thrown about. I look at it sort of with whimsy, which is pilot purgatory. If you Google it, it's a generic term, but it's very much being associated with IoT. And what it means is we started a project, we haven't finished it. We're trying to figure out, how does the connectivity work? How do all these components come together? And how does it exactly provide business value for my boss, my shareholders, my university, whatever it may be? So this concept of pilot purgatory, I think, is very relevant when it comes to ROI. One thing that we're seeing is one of the major challenges around why products and projects get stuck in pilot purgatory. So this is just a study by McKinsey. There's many such studies that are similar, but this is a good one to take it as an example, which is around 84% of the companies that started a pilot are still in it a year later. That's a lot, right? And IoT is new, and the promise of IoT is great. So our bosses allow us some flexibility to run pilots, but a year's a long time. 30% are still in a pilot 2 years in, and around 30% of projects haven't even have gone to production, so 70% of the projects haven't even exited pilot. So there's something here holding projects back. According to this study, the top 3 factors are executive support. So whatever keeps the CEO up at night, is IoT solving it? Maybe not. Strong business case and also strong internal organizational alignment. So I think what's interesting here is these are not technical challenges, these are business challenges. So the thesis is that many of the reasons we're stuck in pilot purgatory isn't just all the technologies getting woven together, it's how do we establish ROI and what's a methodology to find the revenue inside of IoT. So why and how? Certainly the how of IoT is super interesting, certainly for geeks like me, like connecting all this stuff. Here's an example of some underwater technology, underwater cameras that Google has that we partner up with Caitlin, and that's what's powering underwater street view. So if you Google underwater street view, you can explore the Great Barrier Reef. Very cool. If you're building a device like this, then I recommend we spend a lot of time technically proving this. Like how does a device work underwater? How does Wi-Fi work underwater? Sounds like a good Google interview question now that I think of it. I actually have no idea. So if this is what you're dealing with, then spend a lot of time with technology inside of your pilots. If it's not, then the suggestion is that we should trust our devices. We will get them connected. Very rarely do we see a device that can't be. The challenge is there's a lot of IoT technology out there. So how do I get the right security protocols, the right connectivity protocols, keep it secure, have it create a device registry. Basically, it's an assembly challenge of getting the right components assembled to create an IoT solution. But we should all have faith, for the most part, that the device will be connected. But the challenge is really the why. If we spend a lot of our time, 80% of our effort on the how, and that's what our labs look like, and maybe 20% on the why, we're stuck in pilot purgatory. We need to balance that out a bit. So what we've done is worked with a number of customers to come up with a framework that is pretty simple, where we can discover the the why. Where is the ROI? And that's what I want to present right now. So this is one of the key slides around that we show some customers and prospects and walk them through. So there's direct ROI. It's the best type. So I did this IoT project, and because of it, I derived actual value. So when it comes to direct ROI, there's a couple of sides on the balance sheet. Simple, right? I can sell more, I can save. One way to sell more is feature enablement. It's a cooler product. So if you think of like B2C or even B2B, if I have a product that has IoT capability, it has more features. Because of that, people may buy it. It's also a great reason to refresh. So, upgrade to the IoT product versus the one that wasn't, which is great. All revenue is good revenue. The problem here is it's a one-time purchase, right? And every time we IoT enable the device, the cost of that device goes up because we have to pay to keep that device connected. What we've seen is that device can cost anywhere from like 25 cents a year to $1 or more a year to get connected. That increases your bill of materials, right? And if your margins are high on your products and your lifespan is relatively low on your products, maybe 5 to 10 years, you may be able to absorb the bill of materials difference, but very few companies that we deal with can, right? It's a competitive market. So what other techniques do we have to generate revenue beyond just the individual sales? Some of these other categories. So sales enablement. What we're talking about here is replenishables. It's kind of the razor and blade story. So I'll give you the razor for free if you'll buy my blades. So from a replenishable perspective, if we can create a product where we can identify that something has been consumed, create a subscription, automatically send it to you, we can create a subscription model, and that's the nirvana of ROI. The next one down is service enablement. Here you think of sort of like anything as a service. Like if you want to be cool at an IoT cocktail party, say something as a service. So the idea is like I am an HVAC provider, but since I know the air quality of the indoor building, I'll sell you air quality as a service. And the better air quality you want, the more you'll pay me, and then I'll figure out when to switch out all the various filters. So that's service enablement. And then the next is scale and pricing, which is that if you become operationally efficient enough, then sometimes your product, you can actually produce more product than you used to be able to, and maybe even charge a premium. So it's just another avenue to achieve money. On the right-hand side are around efficiencies, right? Think of a warehouse. So increased uptime. I added one more 9 to my number of 9s on my manufacturing floor, where you lowered risk for your employees by IoT enabling equipment and make sure nothing hits somebody. Resource efficiency, certainly, to make sure that you're consuming your resources effectively, and then a higher quality product. So you may think of more based on your vertical, but these ones we've seen work again and again for 80% of the businesses we work with. So direct revenue. Now we see all this indirect revenue, okay? So this is a blessing and a curse. This indirect revenue is the promise of IoT. It's where phrases like data is the new oil comes from, or big data and data science. And the idea is you censor all your data, put sensors on it, collect lots of data, and then money comes out the other side. Except very rarely does that happen. These indirect revenue impacts are meaningful, but if all of our business cases are based on them, then we can definitely get stuck in pilot purgatory, because we're looking for long-term money that is a little hard to connect. So to go around the wheel really quickly in the upper right, targeted marketing, it's the idea is that a manufacturer who makes whatever, a dishwasher, now that I get to know my customer better through IoT, and because of that, because I know my customer and my customer segment, I can market to them more effectively. Building better products, I see how customers are using my products. Therefore, my next rev is going to be of a higher quality. An enhanced brand, I guess the marketers could debate this, but in like B2C anyway, when I put IoT enabled, the brand becomes a little cooler, like a little blue light shows up, and it's just you're a cooler brand. New business services. So we've seen customers who are like in the electrical business, they'll make a surge suppressor. And now what they can see is there's been a surge, maybe some of the equipment is out. So what they can do is join the gig economy and have electricians who are roaming around give the deal to them to go and fix the job. So I used to be a manufacturer, and now I'm participating in the gig economy. Brand new business opportunity. And then customer engagement. This is where like a customer calls into your call center. Now you can see their device. Most manufacturers who are participating in IoT know the customer basically through a warranty card. But now through IoT and an app, I can know the customer directly. That's a responsibility, but it's also an opportunity to increase my NPS, my Net Promoter Scores, because I can service the customer, I can get a first-time fix. So all these are great. What we see is we go around the horn here, work with customers, and say, check off as many of these as you can to say how you're going to generate ROI. And what we'd love to see is in early pilots, right? So many of us are in pilots. We just saw like a raise of hands. Try to get as much direct revenue as possible because you can prove to your business in a short term that this is valuable. And then around the outside, the indirect revenue may be even larger opportunities, but those will come second once you have more time, rolled out a larger pilot, collected more data, and had the opportunity to mine that data. The more check marks, the better. It's just a little bit of a warning sign if they're all on the outside, okay? So what I want to do now is pull in Doug and pull in Phil and have them walk you through the specific agriculture example. What did they find on this? What were the bets that they were placing at the beginning of their project? What was the reality of what they found? And how can we all sort of learn from their mistakes? That's what we want to do, as well as what they accomplished and then apply that obviously to the folks in the room. So Doug, Phil.
Thank you, Adam. And so just to keep this framework in mind, we were able to look back at the Deep Sky project we're in our third year. Actually, we're in our fourth year. And, no, third year, sorry. I'm already thinking about next year. And have a really accurate view of, did we achieve our goals? You know, make no mistake, Philip mentioned that he was a former Deloitte partner. I, too, am a former Deloitte partner. We knew how to do business case, and we certainly know how to do ROI. We think these frameworks are very solid tools, and frankly, we followed the methodology. We didn't make decisions to move forward Deep Sky until we had collective alignment between our customer, the Asmundsens, and Deep Sky Vineyard, and our team. So, and fortunately, which we'll share today, we're going to a granular level on the results a little bit later, but as you look at the wheel of fortune here of ROI benefits, we really hit the ball out of the park, and again, I'm excited to share with direct as well as the intangible items. And you'll hear about Phil talking about some of the strategic they're making, bets they're making now because of these, frankly, longer-term benefits. But first, if you indulge me a little bit, NeoLabs is not an ag tech company. That's the first thing I think that surprises people. Truth be told, we decided to connect this vineyard because of a screaming phone call I received from a former partner at Deloitte, right? The outrage of him watching his wife get up and drive 2 hours to their vineyard just to see if the water was turned on. And so that started the conversation. We had a big pain point from the customer. You know, to our surprise, it was an amazing qualifying application for us for our platform. We still operate in a horizontal business model, and we have lots of demand for ag. Our preference is to be that horizontal platform and partner with others. So let me take you through a little bit of the experience at Deep Sky Vineyard. This is about 2 minutes long.
Farming. It's the oldest industry on Earth and arguably the most important. It feeds the world, employs millions, sustains life. And it's under siege. Agriculture consumes 70% of the world's water, its most precious resource. A single almond the size of a thumbprint requires just over a gallon to reach maturity. Put another way, that water that California uses in a single year just to grow almonds is enough to serve all the homes and businesses in the greater Los Angeles area for nearly 3 years. Farmers rely on diverse data and generations of accumulated experience to do what they do. But farming is still farming, and operating margins are slim. The oldest industry on Earth also has the oldest challenge: consume less, produce more. The data that empowers 21st century farming pours in from sensors in the ground that measure moisture content, from water volume monitors deep in the aquifer, from weather stations, and from generations of experience and knowledge. But here's the challenge. How can all that data become a single, meaningful, real-time indicator of how the crop is doing? Well, there is a solution. Imagine that you're a vineyard operator with the ability to log into a mobile app to see contextualized data from thousands of sensors telling you everything that's happening in your vineyard in real time from anywhere in the world. That same app helps you anticipate and respond to equipment failures before they occur through rich predictive insight and provides detailed information about the vineyard's microclimate. Imagine receiving requests for water directly from the plants and having a system that can automatically respond, or being able to focus specifically on one row of vines or on the data from a single plant. Imagine being able to view and analyze the color of the grapes on that plant, or the ratio of the sun above the canopy to the shade below it. This is precision agriculture. This is NEO. We combine millions of unrelated complex data points and convert them into a simple, visual, richly insightful experience. And the result? Lower cost and resource consumption, higher crop yields, and better product quality. Precision agriculture is a game changer for farming. When experience combines with real-time data collected at the plants themselves, we redefine the world's oldest and most revered industry, and that is only the beginning.
We are outrageously proud of the work we've done at Deep Sky Vineyard, but we're also pragmatist about this, and the partnership that we formed with Google now has us, frankly, we're reciting the Google terms. We think about precision agriculture, is it scalable for the planet? Let me take you through, as you're developing a use case for ROI, for IoT, one thing that people tend to forget is, number one, as Adam mentioned, they focus really too much on the how. And a big lesson we learned, man, we really overworked this. We did everything in this vineyard, as Phil could attest. We built the boxes, we built the specs, we dug the trenches, we augured the holes. We did every single aspect of it. Initially, we wanted to know the challenges that our platform users would face when they took our product into the market. But frankly, we really overdid it, right? So I would tell you, focusing on the why, we did a great job of that. But think about the macroeconomic opportunities that IoT can unlock. You know, the reality today is our farmable land has decreased by 40%. By 2050, we have to increase our food production by 70%. Today, you know, nobody's pining to go into farming where there's a massive labor shortage. I won't get political, I promise. And then lastly, farming consumes 70% of the fresh water on our planet, and it's trending towards 80 or 90%. Now, the big bomb that we all need to consider is it's a known fact that 60% of the water used in farming is wasted. Now, later we're going to get into a granular experience at Deep Sky Vineyard, and frankly, the stats add up. So now we're going to actually take you into the vineyard. You know, in our limited time here, one warning I have you, you can go in and it's a real-time experience from the NeoLabs website, or you can go to our booth. I don't want to get pitchy. But you can look at Deep Sky Vineyard in real time anytime you want. Philip's not going to let you control his vineyard, and he's not going to disclose his private reporting tab that I'm not going to expose to you here. But let me do that. Okay. Oopsie.
There we go. Well, that's it. We're done. No.
Check. Oh, check. Bear with me 1 second. Technical problem.
Oh, here comes the man.
Good grief, it works so great in our warm-up. The demo gods.
You know, while we're waiting to do that, let me just give you a little bit more history on Deep Sky itself and how a guy with 34 years at Deloitte, senior partner there, vice chairman, ended up, you know, scratching dirt. For my 50th birthday, my wife decided to take me down to Argentina. We had a hell of a lot of fun. In fact, so much fun that instead of buying a shirt, we bought a vineyard. And came home, 27-page document in Spanish. Sure enough, had it translated. We had bought a vineyard. It's kind of a condominium vineyard, but a vineyard just the same. Around the same time, we were moving out to Arizona from Connecticut. And while we were out there driving around, I happened to comment to her how much it reminded me of Mendoza, Argentina. So she decided to go out and check around if there was a wine industry there. Sure enough, there was. And about 6 months later, I got a text that said, hey, I bought 20 acres of land down in Wilcox, Arizona. We're going to plant a vineyard. That's literally how we got here today. At that point in time, to put certainly my wife, who's done a fabulous job with this, into perspective, we have no live plants in our house at all. They're all dead. So we had to replace them all with silk plants. And so I had to ask her, I said, what in God's name makes you think you can grow vines? Suffice it to say, that was kind of the battle cry of challenge to her. And she has done a magnificent job. And it has really done wonders over, planted it in 2011, so through today, it has made tremendous strides. And this is kind of a culmination of what we wanted to do to really make sure we were growing the best grapes possible, because in Arizona, nobody knows the answer to that yet. It's very much like our name, Deep Sky. It's exploration. There is no right or wrong. Nobody has the magic formula. NEO is helping us find those formulas.
So what I'll do is I'm going to just drop you through a little bit of the user experience and how Phil, and then frankly turn it over to Phil, and he'll tell me where to navigate, and he'll take you through how he uses the platform on a daily basis. So we start obviously with the proverbial dashboard view, which he takes a glance at. He peeks at his irrigation. We have multiple ways of capturing the weather, macro and all the way down to micro, even down to leaf moisture. You know, the interesting thing about farming, your macro forecast, your weatherman can tell you it's raining like hell, and you don't get an iota of water in a farm. Or it can rain in one block of a vineyard and not in another. But more importantly, if it's windy, you won't absorb any of that wine. So we have multiple sensory capability down to even a weather station on site as well as within the rows.
Yeah. And just to reemphasize, this is live, so it is 101 degrees down there right
now. He takes a look at the equipment diagnostics on pumps. NEO is fully instrumented throughout that factory, so well all the way through pressure and flow throughout various sensors. He has the ability to add observations from the vineyard. This is something I'll expound on a little bit later. He looks at the events of the vineyard. And lastly, and I'll spend a little bit of time on this, it's certainly squint print. You can see it for yourself. But system view, these are streaming perspective of what's happening in vineyard all the time by block. It's really a powerful diagnostic. You know, one thing that I learned many years ago, you know, fakery will only get you so far in innovation. So everything you're looking at here is real, and fortunately for us, that the Asmussens allow us to expose it to the world, frankly, real time. Phil, so let's walk us through a day.
Okay, for me, you know, the dashboard. Go down to weather real quickly. You know, there's a couple other things here. Daily ET, that kind of down here in the up there on the right side. No, the 2 inches. You'll see daily ET. That's really a measure of how much water the plants are basically expiring to cool themselves down. That's what they use water for. It brings nutrients up, but they're also using it to cool it down. So, you know, looking at those forecasts, you know, GDD is degree days, and that's an indication you need a certain number of growing degree days in order to get your fruit ripe. And so we actually track that so that we know about how far we might be from harvest, because we have that history from year to year. So there's more there than just might meet the eye. That UV index is very important. That UV index is an indicator of how much warmer that fruit will be if it's in the sun. If it's in the direct rays of the sun. You don't want that fruit to warm up too much. Fortunately, we have a good canopy to shield that. But let's go on to the irrigation. This is where the real stuff starts. And kind of, you know, to set this up, you know, Doug mentioned the 100-mile drive, 2-hour trip to get down there, and having the ability to see remotely into this vineyard was very much a driver. And that was kind of the start of it, but it really got its start when I watched my wife and her vineyard consultant sit there and auger hole after hole. Now, this is a big hand auger. It drills down about 3 feet. She pulls it up, and there's a big clump of dirt in the little cylinder there, and they drop it into their hands, and they start squeezing it, and they yell out 55%, 60%. And I just looked at them and I said, what the hell are you doing? And they told me they're checking for soil moisture. And I just decided there had to be a better way. And in my vision, as I thought about this, I could see what was happening up above the ground of the plant. I wanted to see into the ground. What was happening to the water when it went in, and what was happening to the water when it went out. And that's really what this section's all about. Okay, so why don't you click on, just as a general orientation, the top is what we're irrigating, this little map right there, the brown part. Over here is really a map of the vineyard. Those are all the zones. Oh, what did you do, Doug? We just disintegrated the vineyard.
Just disintegrate the vineyard again. What? Help. Demo help.
But seeing into the ground is important because nobody really knows what to do. You don't know what happens when it's 101 degrees out. And if you ask 10 vineyard operators down there, you'll get 10 totally different answers as to what the right way to treat your vines are. And for the most part, people just said, put 20 gallons of water on per vine every 5 days and just do that. But the fact of the matter is soil is all different, and you're going to see that here. So there's our map. We've got another little chart. Okay, so you've gone into 5. That's fine. Let's just go there for a minute. So this is where it kind of all comes together. Let's go back to 5, Doug. That's 5. You'll see at the top that 100.8 degrees. That's that 101 you saw before. You'll see a recommended gallons of 11. That's actually what we're putting on. If we went back up to the irrigation screen, you'll see that 5 is scheduled to be watered today for 11 gallons. You'll see something called available water, 54.6%, and field capacity, 84%. I'll go a little into field capacity. I'll try to stay away from available water content, except to just give you an idea of what it is. Why don't you scroll down, Doug, and we'll get into this Zone 5, Sensor 5 area. The numbers on the left-hand side of that chart over here, the numbers to the left are actually the current soil moisture percentages at each of those depths. Those depths are 4, 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40 inches. The number next to that is the degree of the soil. So as you would expect, it gets cooler as it goes down. It's going to be warmest up at the top and get cooler going down. Those are more important to us when we're approaching bud break, when the plant actually comes back up and you start to see green, because there's certain temperatures for different varietals that will indicate when that's about to happen. So not quite as important, because remember, this is now. This is during veraison. And if nobody knows what veraison is, it means when these hard green berries start to soften, and in the case of red grapes, they turn red. In the case of white wine grapes, they turn kind of golden in color. So this is the start, kind of the prequel to the actual ripening process during harvest. Those buttons in the middle, the two that are green because right now those are our zones of interest. We want to try to make sure water gets to those zones, because those numbers over there on the right-hand side is the percent of water that is being taken up at each of those depths. So let's just think about that for a moment. So what I know, I said I want to be able to look into the ground. I not only watch the water as it goes down into the ground, but I watch it as it comes out. And if you could just click on, why don't you click on the 11 gallon per vine irrigation up there on this left side, Doug, 712. Oh, that's the 10. Go down to 11 if you could. He was always a great partner, but he did not
Where do you
listen
want me
very
at,
well.
Phil?
The 11 gallon one. Go down 712. There you go.
There we go.
So you got to look up a little bit on this one, but what you see is this tells me what the starting soil moisture percentages were, what the ending ones were, and then what this plus 24 is. This is important, the way water dynamics work, and believe it or not, it's incredibly consistent from irrigation to irrigation. If you look all the way over to the left, you'll see something called observed FC, or field capacity. Think of that as the glass is full. The soil, that's the point at which the soil can hold the water against the force of gravity. And you really find that out not when the irrigation is done, because you'll see those numbers are higher than the 24 ones. And what they're doing is they're coming back down to field capacity in about 24 hours later. It's at that point that I start capturing how much water the vines are pulling from each depth. And if you follow across, I think it's 66.73 and 67. I'll see it better down here. And 66 to 66.39. That'll almost be the exact same thing all the time. So that's why when I'm looking at this and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, I actually went in and looked at that 11 gallon per vine watering to see what happened, and that's the one I chose to do. Now, you'll see that if you went down to 15, go down to the 15 one, 717 for a moment, just to show a difference. 77, sorry. Down. There you go, right there. As you can see, we practiced this a lot. Which we did, actually. What you'll notice on this one is the 4 and 8 ended at 66.7 and 65.54, and they had a little bit of gain in the 16 inches. But we used 4 gallons more to do that. And the reality is, as you looked at that uptake, it's really not taking water from 16 inches. So this is what we also consider. We don't want to overwater. I think of water as the new oil. So we're constantly trying to minimize the amount of water, but hit the zones that we want to hit. That's what's most important. And we use that by making sure we know what FC is, tracking each one of these irrigations, and that's what we're building our algorithms around, so that NEO will just do it for us. It already is. If you'd gone back to one of those earlier, I think it was actually the dashboard, it was recommending 5 for 11.7 gallons. I wouldn't go there, Doug. But if you could now, Doug, click on the open, what's it called? Yeah, that one. There you go. So we'll wait a second here and you'll see something. And this is where it really came to life for us. This is a chart for the last about month that shows the red is irrigations and the blue line is showing where we went to. And you'll notice there's great symmetry amongst all of these. This is exactly what we're trying to do. When you can start to manipulate the water in the ground and know what the vines are taking up, you have suddenly an opportunity. In the early part of the year, I'll raise all those lines up. I'll give it as much water as it wants. Why? Because I'm trying to grow the canopy. I'll do that right into early May. At the end of May, when the fruit is about to set, I'll actually bring those lines down because I'm trying to set very small berries for a very simple reason. The flavor is in the skins. So if the berries are smaller, your fruitful skin is a greater ratio to the pulp of the berry, the juice. And so by definition or theory, you're going to have more flavorful grapes.
Now, every one of you are going to be able to go out and get drunk and buy a vineyard after this with a lot more confidence. But Philip, we've got to reel this in a little bit and get to the benefits.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right. So let me close out of this.
You're going to take me out of that. Anyway, suffice it to say, this is a total game changer for us. I mean, we have confidence when we go to bed that we know we've watered what we need to water. I don't wake up in the middle of the night saying, oh my God, have we watered this? We know we have. NEO helps us do that.
Okay, Phil, let's get to the meat of it. Show me the money.
Show you the money. Well, it's pretty straightforward. 30% labor efficiency because we have them doing the right things at the right time. We're not guessing. We have so much better information about our vines that we can direct our workforce to do what we need them to do when we need them to do that. It says 40% reduction in water. That's my guesstimate for over the year. In June, it was well over 50% in terms of gallons applied in 2018 versus 2017. And up to about 1 million gallons will be saved this year at Deep Sky. And remember, this is a small 20-acre vineyard. Now, Doug, I think you have some pretty interesting numbers.
So take this notion. A 15-acre vineyard in Wilcox, Arizona, saved 1 million gallons of water, right? There are 18.5 billion acres under plant worldwide of viticulture. If we got 1/7 of these results worldwide, that's 185 billion gallons of water that could be saved. Now, as I mentioned earlier, coincidentally, farming wastes about 60% of the water that's provided. Philip is running 50 to 60% savings. So the value of instrumentation, think of agriculture as a metaphor to many, many other markets, right? And the value of connectivity and, frankly, a proper platform. So, you want to?
Yep, sure. And those last two, crop efficiency and price lift, I mean, I kind of look at those together a little bit. And this is really all about quality. At the end of the day, everyone wants to know how much water we're saving, and we are saving a lot of water. But I always say it's not about saving water as much as it's about using the right amount of water. But if you use the right amount, you will definitely save. But it's also about quality of fruit. Quality of fruit definitely yields higher quality wine. We like to say 80% of the wine is grown in the field. And we're actually seeing that. And, quality is a subjective thing. I mean, you can guess at it, you can look at it, but you can taste it, you can get the tannins, you can get the ripeness of the fruit flavors and all that. But I'd rather look at my customers, because we don't keep all of our fruit. We sell a little less than half of it. And we have 3 main buyers. Every one of those buyers now puts on their label something called vineyard designation. And their bottles, even though it will say name of winery, it'll say Deep Sky Vineyard right there on the label as well. They're doing that because we've become known for higher quality fruit. And just putting our name on their bottles lifts their ability to sell it for a greater amount of money. So that's the real kicker to me, because it really is. Our customers are telling us your quality is better, which has allowed us to lift our price, and none of them are here, but it's going up next year as well, because we're really excited about our crop this year. One last thing to look at, 75% lower cost of human error. That was real. We had people not showing up. We live in Marana, Arizona. This is in Wilcox, Arizona. We had one month where the guy told us, oh yeah, watering, watering, watering. We got our electric bill. It was about $20. You couldn't run that pump for 3 or 4 hours without it being $20. And the guy just hadn't done it. And you know, we couldn't be there all the time, but we needed to have visibility. We took a cruise in Alaska last year. We were monitoring that vineyard during the entire crew, putting on water, looking at needs of water, all of that, all from a ship somewhere in a fjord in Alaska. With that, Doug, turn it over to you.
Yeah, so the roadmap and our progress to date is one tip is, again, if you avoid the overthinking the how, but look for a really quick win. Now, in this case, the quick win was having Philip stop calling me, screaming about his wife having to drive 2 hours to check and see if the water was on, or not trusting the people managing their vineyard. So we got them the confidence in the quick win that they could remotely manage this vineyard very, very quickly. The other thing that we discovered is that the entire thesis about water usage, frankly, was wrong. They thought they were distributing, I forget how many gallons it was now, but it was literally 1/5 was the actual amount. Once we instrumented the vineyard, the water that was getting to the plant was a small percentage of what they thought it was. Okay, so that was a real quick win. The first year, we connected the system, got it stabilized, really focused on the user experience, made some adjustments to it. Last year, we made further modifications, went in and tuned some algorithms. Phil does a lot of back work, data crunching. This year has been extremely productive. We're turning the ROI up. He's transforming his business, as he mentioned. He's getting things like vineyard designates. So we're really achieving the goals. Frankly, none of this is a surprise from the original vision. We had alignment that this could happen, but frankly, there's a leap of faith, right? So we focused hard on the quick win, and now we're really seeing, no pun intended, the fruit of our effort. Now, the super exciting part, particularly with the partnership with Google, is we're really looking forward to next year. Refining this instrumentation and computation model, starting to incorporate ML, both from a data standpoint as well as some video analytics. We can talk more about that offline. We're getting a little short on time. But you know, frankly, this project is now, it's just too compelling. We as a company are thinking about, you know, how do we scale this? So even though we're going to stay horizontal, we're now very focused on this. The results are just undeniable. Lastly, for the tech audience, I'll give you a quick flyby. I think now this is the second day of Next, so you've seen slides that look something like this. But this is really an elegant marriage between Google handling the cloud elements and our Neo platform handling everything below. We are a distributed edge processing platform. So you see the data flow. It starts with, in my world, it starts in the far right. We have tightly wrapped IoT Core into our deployment model. We use it, it's functioning. We use it in everything we do now. It's working beautifully. Google's involving us in their forward thinking about where the product line goes, and we're super excited about that. But we also remember now, this is Wilcox, Arizona. Adam joked about if you're not at the bottom of the ocean. But Wilcox, Arizona is about like being in the bottom of the ocean. It is a very, very remote place. Our gross network pipe is a 10.5 rural cell card. That's it. That's all we've got. Now, we're very, very efficient network management. We have numerous low-power networks operating here, but there's a lot going on. So we run a local network at the vineyard. The vineyard's got to run. It can't be dependent on internet connectivity. And then, of course, we then filter and share up to the cloud with PubSub, up through into data flow, BigQuery, and we think of it as our data warehouse there. And of course, everything is deployed with Kubernetes. So numerous nodes ranging from quad core down to single core nodes, because Neo is not just a data capturing platform. This is a full control system. This vineyard runs on auto mode, right? It does not have to, literally, Neo will make recommendations and run the vineyard. So we've got mobile tools. We have lots going on there. We have recently introduced a little bit of LoRa as well. So it's super exciting. But for me, it's a magnificent, elegant collaboration between Google and us and a fantastic customer. So it's just a win. And on that, I think I'll turn it back over to Adam.
Sure, thanks. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Phil. Is this thing back on? Yes. So yeah, quick closing thoughts. So to kind of circle back to the ROI, I hope that from the context, so agriculture is a major use case for IoT. Manufacturing is a major use case. Smart home, medical. We're seeing a number of verticals begin to really realize the benefits. And it often starts in this sort of way. It's like, oh, I don't want to get up and drive 2 hours. So in these boutique way are disruptors, right? It's what the big folks are worried about. But for the folks in the room who are already big folks, it's good not to start with these huge aspirations without the data, but start with something small. You know, don't drive 2 hours, make the CEO happy, and then go from there. But when looking for ROI, the good mindset is first think outside your company. What's the macroeconomic trends? In this case, it's water, it's labor shortage. What's happening in the world that's going to affect? Because we're skating to the puck with IoT, right? It's going to be a 2 to 5 year journey. So what's going to happen? Competitive disruption. Like we were saying, X as a service. So are your competitors shifting, especially if you're a manufacturer? Are they getting into are they becoming software vendors? The minute you launch an app, you're a software vendor. And what's happening there in your industry? And then regulatory, we didn't talk about here, but we see a lot of regulatory pressure. And where that comes in, IoT is a great release valve because IoT provides a lot of transparency. So rather than having auditors having expenses to deal with regulation, IoT can deal with it. So just some macroeconomic trends, I'm sure you can think of more. After that, you think of your internals, like the chart we went through before. Internally focused, where can we find revenue? Get as many tick marks as you can. Direct revenue first, indirect second, and see if your thesis is achieved. It can be achieved in a very small way at first. And lastly, no ROI, no pilot. But basically, if you see 80% of your pilot effort, and our pilot effort is kind of precious, right? You all in the audience can be doing lots of things with your time. The fact that so many hands got raised around efforts around IoT, we are all responsible, right, for sort of exiting pilot Purgatory together and finding this ROI. It's not mission impossible. Huh? That's a movie reference.
Well, you know, and to that point, Adam, yeah. We talked about this, and you know, if a little vineyard in Arizona of 20 acres can get the kind of results we've achieved, and it wasn't easy. I mean, there were some fits and starts, but you know, if we can do it, I can only imagine the impact you guys can make on your companies, which are much larger and probably have a much bigger, you know, apple to take a bite out of this stuff.
And so quick thoughts in terms of wrap up. Obviously, we're in the middle of next here, so really appreciate your time. Given the number of hands that went up around IoT, we're really excited. If you haven't seen Google's IoT offering yet, please check us out. So we're over in Moscone South. Please come over to our booth and check it out, and we'll show you IoT Core. The Neo Labs folks are there as well if you want to talk about other IoT solutions, or if you're into agriculture or want to become a sommelier. You can learn more about the industry, and we have a booth over there as well. And then please check us out at Google Cloud IoT and learn more about the solution. And we'd obviously love to hear your feedback as well. Within the IoT group, like I'm on the product team, I can tell you we're very interested. We are very interested to hear your feedback. So you can find me or anyone else from the product team, and just would love to hear your use cases because we're learning and growing together. And we'd like to thank you for your time. Thanks, Phil.
Yep, thank you.
Doug. Enjoy the rest of Next.